Hey, welcome everybody. It is 2 o'clock Pacific time. That's my time. I have 8/24, 2017, and we got a special guest. As you guys may know who he is, the wonderful Paulogia from his channel. Or some people call it Paulogia. We're going to find out today which one he prefers, although I already know the answer, but whatever. But he runs his YouTube channel has great videos on debunking young Earth creationism and answers in Genesis, and his series called Ham and Eggs, and you guys already know all that already. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually have Paul talk specifically about Eric Hovind's new movie Genesis Paradise Lost, because probably by now most of you have figured out that Paulo Gio has an expertise not just in debunking young Earth creationism, but also in the movie genre as in general. He's actually had a lot of experience in that. So we're going to have more of a one-on-one type situation here. However, as it progresses, we'll be bringing people in to the hangout. I want to keep this to under an hour. I got other things that need to be done today, but Paulo, dude, I know you and I have been friends for a while now, and you've been around, but this is a special thing just for you because I think you've earned it. I think you deserve it. I think your channel is one of my favorite channels. I mean, especially newer channels. It's just fantastic. So let me throw that out there and welcome you here, dude.
Well, thanks so much. Although, I consider myself part of the great debate community in general. So, this is just, hanging out. This is just hanging out where I belong.
But you're still special, dude. You are a special member of the great debate community because, you're going to be very popular in years to come. You're going to be the next, living dinosaur, King Crocoduck, Pothole 54. You'll be up there with the big guys eventually.
Oh, awesome. And then I can just disappear for a long time.
Yeah. And then you're going to say, well, Steve who? Yeah, I'm waiting for it, but it's okay. I accept it. So anyways, tell us about this movie. I have not seen that much from it. I just know it has like some CGI and the rest is kind of interviews, but you know a lot more about it. So
sure. So those of you who, well, it doesn't matter. I follow Eric Hovind a lot, as most of you know. So Eric has been for now, I think it's closer to 6 years. He says 5, so I'll go with his number. But for 5 years now, he's been working on a movie that he used to be called Genesis Movie, and then it was called Genesis 3D, and now it has a new name called Genesis Paradise Lost. But anyway, for 5 years, he's been working on this Genesis movie that he intended to be in theaters, obviously, because he's made it all in 3D, that is supposed to depict chapter 1 of Genesis, and he's had a guy named Ralph who has been doing a lot of CG, and the CG portion of the movie, computer generated graphic portion of the movie, will be their imaginings of what the Genesis week would look like. So in some of the previews, you see their non-Big Bang version of the Big Bang, the Earth forming obviously before the stars, because that's what they believe, and plants rising from the ground and fish about coming to the sea. And one of the most hilarious things is of course in the recent shot, there's an elephant and a brachiosaurus walking side by side towards Adam to be named Adam, because they can't have nudity in the movie. Of course, they came up with this thing where they gave him glowing pants, which I call star pants. It's just weird. Anyway, that's part of the movie. We don't know how much of the movie. The rest of the movie is actually sit-down interviews with his friends from Answers in Genesis and Living Waters. So if you're familiar with my Ham and Egg show, you'll know Ken Ham and Georgia Purdom and Bodie Hodge. They've also got Danny Faulkner, and Ray Comfort, I think, is the culmination at the end to deliver the gospel message at the end of the film, which they're touting very heavily. But it's a 2-hour film. Well, film in quotes, but it's a 2-hour project, and they've been working on it for 5 years. They finally finished it in March, and now they are looking to get it to the theaters, which is sort of where I started attacking it most vigorously, given my experience in the film industry. Those of you who don't know, I worked for Lucasfilm for 7, 8 years, somewhere in there, during the Star Wars prequel films. And because Lucasfilm is such a small company, I got some great experience in film distribution, both theatrically and on DVD and television. I had my fingers in all those mixes, so I know a little bit about that industry. So what he was doing was a little bit off to me, so I thought I would investigate, and I did a few videos on that.
And by the way, you did some web stuff as well. You were the
Right. My primary thing there was
what they call web guy for Lucas Online.
I hate that, but sure. Yes, I created and ran their Lucas Online division, so I was in charge of the technical and content and e-commerce for.
And now he's here on now he's here on YouTube. That tells you something.
Yeah, it's a far fall, but you know,
it's okay.
Me and Ahmed best.
So one of the questions I have to ask before you get too much into detail about the movie is the cost that he said the movie would be, right? The amount of funding he got, which by the way was, correct me if I'm wrong, all crowdsourced, right?
Yeah, actually I didn't get into that, but you're absolutely right. So he raised money for this. So the first crowdfunding he did was Indiegogo for $130,000, and that was back in, let me do the math here, 2013, I want to say. No, it must have been 2012 when he started that first Indiegogo, and he promised that for $130,000 they would produce the film, and it was supposed to come out the next year. Of course, we have overshot both of those things by quite a bit.
It's not out. I've never heard of it. So.
It's not out.
It's not out. Okay.
But they also, so that's really important, is that this was crowdfunded. So, so he has got every nickel of production money from donors, non-refundable. So if you're familiar with Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff, if you give your money, you kind of take your chances, right, that anything will even happen.
Yeah, they're not obligated to do anything, are they?
They're not obligated to do anything. They're also not obligated to give you anything. So this is really like throwing money into the offering plate for most of these people. Like, he didn't even promise, on the latest ones, he's promising DVDs, but on those old ones, like, you weren't even going to get a movie ticket or to get to see it or a copy of the
donated
DVD or
didn't
anything.
Get a ticket. It's like, seriously?
Seriously, no.
How cold is that? Wow.
But well, it's not like Eric could deliver on that, given the way the film industry is. He couldn't actually have delivered on. He could deliver on giving them a DVD. But
okay, well, that would have been at least nice.
Yeah, exactly. But so interestingly, this has obviously ballooned into, and Eric, his own number that he gives is 900,000 that they've raised. So they've been on virtually every crowdfunding platform that has existed in the last 5 years and done, I think, I don't know if it was deliberate or just because of time, but they've, kind of spread this around so it doesn't look so gigantic. But they've raised 900,000, so almost $1 million, to make this movie. And then it finished in March. They were finally done. So they didn't need any more money for that. But what surprised me was all of a sudden Eric coming online asking for another 350,000, which is odd because the film's already done. So, did I answer your question about the crowdfunding?
Well, yeah, part of it, because I actually two parts. That was the first part, but the second part was more based upon the fact that the CGI was pretty limited in what they did, and like you said, they were using clips from interviews. What do you think a movie like that would have what's the requirement, the basic amount of funds requirement to make something like that? I mean, 900,000 seems awfully high when the CGI would be that low. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when they do advanced CGI for movies, they farm it out to like these big places that have massive servers, and you rent them out, right, for the rendering.
No, and actually, and interestingly, they, rightly or wrongly, they actually bought their own render farm, which is, I used to have a visual effects company, and I made the same mistake too. But renting currently, if you're anyone other than ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, you rent render farms now because you just from places like Google or whatever.
Sure.
But they, just to give you a sense, so these new Star Trek episodes that are coming out are around $1 million an episode for their CGI budget. So this isn't way out of line in terms of that. Like a Game of Thrones, I believe their budget their CGI alone budget is something like $3 million per episode right now, because they have so many dragons this season. So it's not. I will give him props. They did not. This price tag isn't crazy, assuming they've got at least 40 minutes of CGI. I'm not sure they do have that much. We'll see. So it's not an outright scam that might be how much it would have cost them to do it.
Not necessarily a scam, but I'm just wondering how much profit he's getting in his back pocket.
Well, I don't think he's necessarily so the profit doesn't come so he's kept himself and Ralph employed for these 5 years, right, with these funds. So
His operating cost goes to him.
His operating costs. So
okay.
yeah, they've included like
Sure.
his office rental and his presumably his salary and Ralph's salary and whoever else whatever other freelancers they've done. But imagine, if you were Sony or Disney or whoever, and you got someone else completely to pay for your movie. So like even on release day, you've had zero cost. I mean,
Yeah, you're golden. I
it
mean,
doesn't matter.
there's no jeopardy for you. There's no risk you're taking.
Right, exactly. It's like if you win a car and then you sell the car, it's like, oh, okay, I got a car. I don't need a car, but no, it's all profit. It doesn't matter whether the film does terribly or not. Every nickel is still a new nickel to him. So, in that sense, this crowdfunding is a huge coup.
Yeah, but I'm not against crowdfunding. I'm really not. As long as people are honest about their what they're trying to do, their plans, right? Their projects.
And honestly,
so
other than under delivering, like other than taking 5 years instead of one, I think I didn't ever call him out on his messaging on the crowdfunding.
Yeah, I'm not either. I won't do it either. I want to make it very clear. I'm not faulting him for it. There are reasons why people do it that way, and the fact that you're not taking a risk, I get it, right? By the way, FYI, I have invited Eric to this particular hangout. He's dropped in before. We've had conversations with his apologetics, and I don't know. I mean, he seems to be avoiding you, Paul. But I told him, I said, dude, if I'm going to have Paul on to talk about Genesis, I think it's only fair that I allow you on to have her counterpoint, because that's how we do it in the Great Debate community, right?
He is avoiding me, but at least he acknowledged, and we can get to this once the chronology catches up, but he did at least acknowledge me about 2 weeks ago. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that because I saw the tweet and I didn't really read it the first time the same way you did, and then I caught it and I was like, wow, he's not giving you a free pass to the movie. He's saying, hey, yeah, you know what? You can come to the movie, fine $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll definitely get into that when we get up to that point, because that was just hilarious.
So anyway, I was going to say we're kind of up to where the movie's done, which was March, and then this new $350,000 thing came up, and that was to get distributed into theaters. And this is where things started to smell funny for me, because in the film industry, a distributor, there are a very small number of proper distributors. Almost every movie that gets into theaters goes through about 5 different distribution companies. And even like films that go into Cannes or that win festivals or become small films, they all end up going through one of these major distributors, because the movie theaters don't deal with everybody. The movie theaters, deal with a handful of people to get all their content. And it's a real problem, in the industry for small films, but it's a realistic one. So I was kind of keeping my ears open as to which one would sign Eric, if any. But one thing I definitely know is that none of these distributors take money from the production companies. I've done productions, both on the Star Wars scale and on a much smaller scale. And at no time should the filmmaker ever pay a single dollar to the distributor. What you do have to wait for sometimes is it can take years to get your money after the fact, which is why some companies can actually go under, even though the VeggieTales company, they lost their entire company because they didn't understand that when they put out their VeggieTales movie, that it was going to take 2 years for them to get their money out. So they went bankrupt just because of cash flow. They didn't understand distribution. So anyway, it's a complicated game, but you never pay money. And so when Eric came out and said, "Hey, church-going followers of mine, I need $350,000 so that the distribution company will sign us," that was the first, whiff of something fishy. And so, yeah, I don't know how far you want to go from there, but
yeah, no, actually, I would like to go a little bit further, because you did something that I've never seen, like the younger creationists I do, or the Clown Car Posse, as people know we colloquially refer them to. You did something I never seen any of them do. You actually retracted something, kind of, sort of. You actually clarified. You found out more information, and you didn't backpedal at all, but you at least clarified. And I thought that was extremely professional of you. And that was with regards to the type of distribution company that they had, was one that just rented out the bookings for the the movie theaters. You want to get into that a little bit?
Sure. So, you know, I'll get into the accusation I made. Now, just to clarify for everyone, this is an accusation I made that I no longer hold to, but I made it. Given what I was saying about the fishy smell, I went on video and I didn't straight up accuse them, but I kind of warned Eric. I said, in my experience, no distribution company ever asks for money. So if you are dealing with one that is, this might be a scam, Eric. Like I hope I gave it out as a warning more than an accusation.
I took it that way. I think you did. I watched that video intently. I really took it as you were giving the possibility that this might be, but you did not flat out say, you know what, this is
right.
a scam. You were tentative, you were reserved, and you had some kind of apprehension to actually say, you know what, I know for a fact this is a scam. You were very careful in how you parsed your words, and I find that to be the best way you can do it when kind of things. You don't want to accuse somebody, even Eric, when you don't have all the facts, right? Because then it comes back and bites you in the ass.
So I made that, you know, warning slash, you know, accusation, I guess. Well, not, but if I was wrong about the distribution, then he was actually just blatantly stealing money, which is also bad. But anyway, so we learned more. So in the week following my video, they came out and announced that they signed with a distribution company, which again made me fishy because they said, well, we have to raise 350,000 in order to sign, and then they signed without having raised the money. So the story wasn't adding up anyway. But they finally admitted what company it was with, and it was a company called Fathom Events, which in the back of my head I thought I'd heard of before, but you know, it definitely never came up in my time in the film industry. Never heard of these guys, so I did some digging, of course, because that's kind of what I do with my channel. And Fathom Events, it turns out, is a company that basically rents screen time. So they actually were the company that did Is Genesis History, and Is Genesis History, which is on Netflix now, but it was a similar Young Earth documentary, Young Earth creationism documentary, and again, they placed themselves into theaters for one night. And so I actually, with the help of one of my followers, we actually started asking Fathom, like, you know, how did this work? And we were like, if we wanted to get theaters, you know, so we were actually, you know, posing some questions to Fathom to get some clarification on how this was going to work. And basically, if you have cash, Fathom will put any content you want onto screens, and the more cash you have, the more screens they can get. So if you're a theater owner who you know, makes very little money off the ticket sales themselves, you make all your money in the concession, it makes total sense that, hey, you know, if some event wants to come and rent my screen, that's probably better than, you know, a single showing on a Monday of, you know, week 17 of Wonder Woman or something, or the Emoji Movie. So these theaters basically put up their screens for rent, and they literally, one of the things that they do is, you know, if you have a business meeting and you just want to have branches in Chicago and Seattle, both, you know, attending the same meeting at the same time, you can sit in the theater. So they're very indiscriminate about the content, is I guess what I'm trying to get to. And so this Fathom obviously is not a real distributor. They are just the screen rental company. And that's what Eric needed to raise the money for. And so I started doing the math on what I knew about this stuff and what I could find out. And this story basically checks out. The 350,000, he's been saying that will be for 500 screens. And it is roughly a $700 rental. It varies by region, but it's roughly 700. So the math works out. That Eric will essentially be renting theaters across the country to put his movie into.
Now the ones, I don't remember, what's it called? The name of the distribution?
Fathom.
Fathom. So Fathom.
Fathom.
Fathom. Okay, Fathom. So
yeah.
Basically, what they do then, if I understand it correctly, they'll find a off movie night that's not really where like big movies are coming out. They'll get a hold of the movie theater and they'll say, hey, look, we want to rent a block of time, say like, you know, 2 hours to show this movie for one type showing. And is that how they kind of do it?
That's exactly how it works.
Okay.
And so this company, now they're a big time company. So for example, they're doing the Mayweather McGregor fight this weekend. Like, they're a real deal. They do some of this Christian stuff, but they're pretty reputable in the checking that I've done. So I can't say that they're a scummy company by any means. This is just their business model. Sorry, I lost track of the question.
I guess it helps when I turn my mic back on. No. I think that's fine for them to do that. I'm not at all saying that's a scummy business model. It's just that I like the fact that you clarified, because they're not a true distribution company the way that you're used to, where you don't pay the distribution company. The distribution company goes, they basically pay you to take the rights to the movie, and then they send it out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's why I felt I had to make a second video, because I had kind of left out there, like a matzo ball on my chin, like this kind of quasi-embarrassing, to me at least, accusation that I had made, when clearly they were just in such a different lower tier of, like, they're playing AAA ball, and I was, accusing them, I was, major league accusations for them. So, I had to, again, just for the public record, I've retracted all that. I don't think that they're doing I don't think there's anything shady about the distribution company. I don't think they're specifically doing anything shady, except for the communication. And this is partly why I got misled for so long. They are communicating with the same language that everyone uses, like a major motion picture release. So they are leading people on to believe that this is going to come into theaters and you'll play all weekend and it'll play for weeks and weeks, and that you'll be able to, go over and over again and invite your friends on week number 3. They're using all the language that major motion pictures use to talk about their releases, where Is Genesis History was very honest and upfront the whole time, saying one night event, one night only. Now, if you're Eric, I bet he will shift gears at some point to emphasizing the one night only, because that's his only chance to make money from tickets. But for now, while he's still trying to raise money, I feel like he is deceiving people who don't understand the industry as well as I do, that they are donating to something that isn't, in fact, going to happen.
So so you're saying that they might be thinking that this movie is actually going to be a movie that's going to be in theaters for quite some time, like a regular movie by any major company,
right? Think the new Justice League movie, or Batman, or Wonder Woman, or anything, right?
Are you saying that's because probably people may not be as willing to give money if it's only a one-time showing?
Well, I think so. I mean, imagine if you said because they're saying that this is, their pitch is to their followers that this is an evangelism tool, and that every dollar they give will save souls, right? And they are very much pitching it that that non-Christians will eventually find this film, right? Like, they'll be going to the theater and happen across this Genesis and maybe give it a try, which is, of course, not going to happen. I mean, it could happen on a one-night event, but they're, to me at least, they're leading people on that that this is what's going on. Plus, I just, having been a Christian myself, a lot of denominations frown upon going to the theaters to see movies. When I went to Bible school, we were strictly forbidden. My my Bible school roommate was in a movie, and he couldn't even get dispensation to go to it. He wasn't allowed.
Really? Even
Bible school
movies?
He was an actor in a movie, and they wouldn't let him go see it in the theater because the theater was an evil place.
What?
So he and I snuck out, and we went to see it anyway. But no, literally, some denominations are so strict about the movie theaters that the average person donating to Eric doesn't even understand how movies work at all, let alone these subtleties of, is something opening or is it one night only. So I just think he's collecting money with some clever wording that isn't necessarily a lie, but is also misleading through a lie of omission, I would call it. That this is really a one-night party. Because can you imagine if you were doing if you went to the visitors and said, you know what, we're going to have a big one-night party and it's a vanity project and we just want to see our movie in the theater just because that'll be super cool to see in the theaters for one night, versus this is an evangelism tool that's going to save souls for weeks.
Yeah, that's the way he marketed it, though.
It is, and he's still doing it. He had a new video yesterday. They reached the $300,000 mark.
But it's not for that. If it's only for one night, and you're literally showing it to the audience that already believes this stuff, then it isn't as an evangelistic tool.
Correct. Like, all anecdotal evidence from his Genesis history was, that it was, upwards of 90% people who already believed. And they literally, like, they bust people in, bust church groups in to a theater to go see this stuff. I mean, I expect the same thing will happen.
How about I start a crowdfunder? I'm going to make a movie showing you that the Earth is round. And then
Sure.
just for the people in the great debate, because I don't think we have any flat earthers in there. So it'd be a one-time only thing. Send me all your money. I'll show you a movie that the Earth is round to convince you that you already believe that the Earth is round. There you go.
Yeah, and you could actually just pick the favorite video you've got on your. We could take the Kent Hovind Bill debate and just rent theaters and put that up.
I think that should. That's not a bad idea, actually. that was my that needs to go all over the place. That debate was just fantastic. I love that. So.
But if you had the money, you'd be equally able. So it's not like Eric's product is so special.
Right, because the Phantom, they'll take just about anybody if you got the cash,
that's
right?
Rent
the block time, sure. So you guys want to start that? You want to crowdfund and get Bill Lello's debate out? That actually wouldn't be that bad idea, but I'm just kidding. But still,
but
awesome.
imagine if we pitched that to say we're going to get all the younger creationists to come to the theaters to see this thing and convert, and we're going to rid the world of young Earth creationism by showing this for one night. Like that.
And what, we only show it to GDC members though?
Yeah, and literally, yeah, we only make it available to. So it's as disingenuous as that.
Or people that actually believe that the Earth is round, right? Which
sure,
is pretty
exactly.
much all of us. So, yeah, yeah. So, I really thought he was marketing it, and you said he was totally as an evangelistic tool. And then when I heard there was only be a one night only, I'm like, well, how's that supposed to work? Because you're not going to have these people that don't buy into this shit go watch this movie. It's just not going to happen. And what's the ticket cost?
Well, it'll be the same ticket cost as normal. So, but it's also. Most theaters charge a 3D surcharge these days. I don't know if you've been to a theater, but it's usually $2 to $3 more for a 3D ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing it'll be $13, probably more on the West Coast than the East Coast.
So I'm curious. I'll ask the live chat. We got 100 people watching. Do any of you that are not young Earth creationists, would you guys spend $13 to go watch some movie like this? I'm just kind of curious. I particularly wouldn't. I wouldn't, but maybe they would. And I'm not faulting them if they want to go watch it, just go to mock it to see how bad it really is. I get that, but I would not waste my time with it. I would wait till it comes out on DVD or torrent or whatever. I'm not going to spend $13 to give to Eric Hovind. I'm just sorry, I'm not.
But it's 3D. Don't you love 3D?
You know what? No, I'm not a big 3D movie fan.
No, I'm with you. I literally, if I have a choice, I will always pick the 2D option. I would pay more to see some of these movies in 2D than 3D because the colors get washed out, and there's all kinds of technical reasons why it's.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
It's not good.
I don't think they've really perfected that down to where it's something I would like to go see. And I haven't seen too many 3D movies. They're interesting when you go to, like, I think it was Disneyland or somewhere where they have something that's 3D, but they've obviously put a lot of time and effort to it, and they specialize just in those effects, right? That's just to get that wow effect. But a movie like this, I just would have no reason to see it in 3D.
No, essentially you're going to be seeing, and it's funny, they even within their investors, I've been digging into this a bit. They always call it Discovery Channel level graphics, like when they have to talk honestly about it. So imagine you're, a documentary on the Discovery Channel. Are you going to pay $13 to go see that level of animation in 3D?
Well, I guess PZ said, he's in the live chat. PZ said that it's only $6 for where he's at. He would go just to rip it. Yeah, but he has a platform, right? He has Ferengula. He can actually, to $6, it's worth it to him. To me, $6 is a lot because I'm poor, as we all know. But he has a platform where he could rip it on Ferengula, and people would go check that out. So I can understand that. But for the most people, I can't see spending a dime on it to go watch this movie. I just can't.
Well, but imagine if you are the kind of person who is going to go. So they're going to bus churches in, and they're going to say, we all have to go support this so that the gospel message, there can be more of these. Like, this is the whole Christian film industry, and those of you who were in either Christians now or have been, about the Christian film industry, and it's all just, they get people out to go see it. I mean, think about Passion of the Christ, for example. With the promise that, well, if we don't go see it, then Hollywood won't make more movies for us. So they all show up for every single one. Like every single time they do Left Behind, they all show up. It's one of those, if you are in the church, it makes a lot of sense that you should spend your money and go see it. Like they pitch it in such a way that
perhaps, sure.
And
How long
so,
is the movie?
well, it's a 2-hour cut. So at least mercifully, his Genesis history was 89 minutes. But
I thought they tried to get it to 8. I thought movies were 88 minutes for a reason.
88 is the least that they will do, and which is why typically animated films show up at 88 minutes.
And that's because most theaters won't show movies less than 80
Right.
minutes,
It's just too much overhead problem to not have that length of time. But but no, Eric and Ralph, I've been watching their behind the scenes things. They actually at one point had a 2.5-hour cut, but they've trimmed it down now to just under 120 minutes. I suspect partially because they would have to rent the theater longer to have two. I think they're probably going to want to try and have 2 showings that night, I would guess. His Genesis history only had 1, but
so one night only, but maybe they rented 2 blocks.
They might.
Blocks? Okay.
They might. So some places, his Genesis history only had 1. So we don't know what the 350 is buying them, but certainly the longer the cut, the more it would have cost them to rent the theaters. So
yeah. I'm telling you, I really wish Eric would drop by on this. He hasn't even responded to my Twitter, which is unusual. Usually when at least I send something out to him, he'll at least like say something. But let's get into what he tweeted to you.
Sure. So
that was just great.
Segueing to that. So I, having covered film both for media and for, within the industry, one of the greatest signs of is a film going to do well is do they allow press to go review the film in advance. If you ever go onto Rotten Tomatoes a few days before the film comes out and there's no scores yet, that's a huge sign that the studio had zero confidence because they weren't even letting people go see the film in advance. And then Eric has been bragging that he's been test screening the film, all of which have been to young Earth creationists. Because he bragged about the one person in his test audience who was an older Earth creationist. And that was like the most skeptical person that he's had see the film so far.
Really, a diverse audience to get a representation of what the response is going to be from people that are going to be, watching this and reviewing it. So that's kind of skewed, to say the least.
My channel's not that big, but it's getting, some recognition. And I felt like, I cover Eric quite more in depth than most people do. So Eric, why don't you let me come to the premiere? Because he's going to premiere it a couple of weeks before the general audience. And I, just imagine the publicity if Paulogia went to see his film and became a Christian again, right? Like if he's so confident in the message of his film,
that would be huge, wouldn't it? Can you imagine the bragging rights he had? By the way, you call yourself Paulogia real quick because I said at the top of the hour. People can call you Paulogia, but they've also referred to you as Paulogia. But you prefer.
It's either way. My Greek, so the brief Greek that I had in Bible school, my professor particularly said apologia, although I know apologia is equally used. Okay. So I go by
you'll respond to either one.
I will respond to either one, but my Canadian regional dialect, the Canadian version of Greek says apologia. So
okay. Well, there you go. Official right there.
Official. So where were we at? So anyway, so I put out to Eric, I will happily, I would love, or could I, what would I have to do? I think that was the wording I used. What would I have to do to come to the premiere? And he took a good 24 hours to reply, but he did reply on Twitter and he pointed me to the crowd.
Oh boy. Maybe Eric sniped us. No, I'm just kidding. Eric wouldn't do that. I gave him the link, but I think Paul actually just lost connection. So in the interim, let's check the live feed here while we killed dead air. Let's see here. Maybe the movie would convert PZ Myers. PZ Myers says, it's funny. Like I said, no, I'm not even kidding. If this movie was such a tool to convert people, right, to be a evangelistic force, then it would be one of the crowning achievements for any apologist or evangelical to have somebody like Paulogia, who was who was a Christian who left the faith, to come back to it. Can you imagine the bragging rights they had? Or, for example, like PZ, can you imagine they say, look, this movie was so potent, PZ Myers himself is now a raging young earth creationist evangelical. That would be just, I would lose my mind, by the way. I'd probably just end my channel and just, But I would think that that's what they would want to go check out this movie if they have confidence in it. But since we're waiting for Paul, if you want to get the link to get in, I'm going to start opening up a little bit. just let me know why he's working on his technical stuff here, and he's
Oh,
back.
I'm back. Did
Okay.
you lose me? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was just telling people that look at if this movie was such a vehicle for evangelism, that if they converted you back to the faith, or they converted someone like PZ to the faith, can you imagine the bragging rights they would have? I mean, it would just be crazy.
Yeah, they would milk that forever.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, I would not want PZ to be. If PZ became a creationist, that would be a scary, scary freaking thought. Oh my god, can you imagine?
That would.
It would be PZ going around talking about the ark. Yeah. Look at, we have all these species from just a couple kinds of the ark.
Yeah, PZ walking around saying dogs only give birth to dogs.
Dogs, yeah, dogs. Well, you know what? We haven't seen a cat coming from a dog. Ergo, evolution's not true. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we?
Sorry.
The tweet the tweet for you to go see this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you heard, but basically, to recap a little bit, he basically pointed me to his $5,000 donor level. Did we catch that part?
I know about that, but I don't think you got that out yet. Here.
So I guess I was offline when I explained it again. So anyway, I asked Eric, what would it take to get me into the premiere so I could review the film, and his reply a day later was, here's how you can get into the theater, see if your followers will support you. And it was a link to his $5,000 donation level, which includes tickets to the premiere. So basically, he was asking my followers to donate $5,000 to him so that I could review the film. So forget this $13 or $6 thing. He wanted me to pay $5,000 to see his film.
Yeah, and by the way, I do not notice, I did not bother to make that a GDC fundraising thing. Sorry.
No. If we raise $5,000, we'll put it towards something useful.
Yeah, I can think of a lot more things the GDC can do with $5,000. Like advertising and more marketing to get the GDC out there. So we're working on that.
Obviously, I'm going to be reviewing this film whenever I get a chance to see it. I'm in Canada. I don't think it's going to be playing here in theaters. I'm toying with the idea of maybe driving down or flying down somewhere.
Someone's got to have a torrent of it. I mean, you really want to see it in a theater? Is that critical? I know you're a purist. You're guys, but you're like the Jack Ainstrike.
No, if there's a guy on the New York City, if there's a guy on the streets, or somewhere in Taiwan who has a copy of this that I would be able to review in advance, I definitely wouldn't.
Okay.
But I suspect that like his Genesis history, I'm guessing he's going to put it out on DVD about a month later, which is what IGH did, much to the chagrin of everyone who gave them all this money for the theatrical. Can you imagine, like, you pay all this money for theatrical and then he's turning around and selling the DVDs for it 4 weeks later? Maybe they won't pay attention. Maybe they think it's all part of God's plan and glory for saving people, but that's what's going to happen.
For some reason, I'm not seeing your icon. It's when you talk. Is the outside chat seeing it? Since you got back, it's just showing like a blank thing. Is that just me, or is that in the live chat as well? Let me see here. Let me go live.
Well, there's only 2 of us talking, so it's not like.
Yeah, but on mine was just it's kind of weird. But I think it actually shows you on the outside, so we're good. So,
okay. Anyway, so I don't know if anyone had any. I haven't been following the live chat. I don't know if anyone had any questions. That kind of exhausts what I know about the film at this point. Obviously, I'm holding their feet to the fire. They got to the $300,000 mark yesterday, and they did a video about it. Or sorry, Monday, and they did a video about it. So they're not quite at their goal yet. But
well,
did I have any questions?
When is it actually out?
So November 13th is their one day only.
Okay.
Remember, it's only one day, one party. It's a $350,000 party, which is a Monday. So obviously that should have been. The other thing made me mad to myself was, like, I saw that date and I never looked at it on the calendar. Real movies open up on Friday, right? Like no real movie opens up on Monday. Monday is the down day for the theater, so it makes sense that this is the date there.
Monday's a down day for everything, even like in like Disneyland or amusement parks. Monday is generally considered the slower day, correct?
Yes, exactly. So that's a perfect day to bus in people who never go to movies.
Yeah, people go to movies on Fridays, I guess, because that's the start of their weekend, right?
Well, and it's date night, right? It's date
night. Yeah, okay.
I mean, most people who go to theaters are, under 30. That's, anyone over that is already old in there. So
yeah, well, nowadays though, you have to take a second mortgage to go out to see a movie. I mean, when I was dating, I took a friend of mine to a show. I mean, between it wasn't so much the cost of the tickets. Obviously, they're not cheap, but they're not expensive. But my God, you got a popcorn drink and a candy bar, and you're already indebted for the next 10 years of your life.
Yeah, but this is the month.
Ridiculous.
This is the month you should start dating and doing that, because you can't eat any of that stuff anyway.
This is true. So I can watch her pork out while I just have to drink water. I'm not even drinking diet soda for my diet.
It's always really masculine to tell your date you're on a diet.
Yeah, well, she might be a fitness guru, huh?
Maybe, yeah.
No. But anyways, let's open this up. Live chat, if you got some questions, go ahead and put them in there. We have well over 100 people watching. And I will try to add people. Just let me know. Message me through G+ or through Twitter. I'll get you the link to come in because, like I said, we have about 20 more minutes. I'm going to keep this to an hour. So please, come on in. Like I said, he thinks he's kind of exhausted so far what he wanted to talk about in light of this particular project for Genesis Paradise Lost. Until we actually see it, there's not much more we can actually say about it. And
although I have, there is actually, I've done they did inadvertently, in a way, put a minute of the film online several months ago.
Inadvertently?
Yeah, well, they knew they were doing it, but they were in Ralph's office. Ralph is the director of the film, and they, for their Facebook exclusive group, they pointed their camera at the screen while a minute of the movie was playing. And so you could see, while they were talking.
Oh, I think I did see that. Yeah.
Anyway, so in that's where actually I got into it. Was the Danny Faulkner segment, which they put up a whole bunch of crap about Mercury's, the surface of Mercury and the Venus's magnetic poles and things like that you can check out my video. I've already debunked that minute of the film. They squeezed a lot of really false claims into 1 minute. But so we know a little bit about that. But there is one thing I'd love to actually for the general audience to give me some advice on, and that is my weird announcement that I will be at the Creation Museum on Monday to watch Answers News live. So those of you who see my Ham and Egg News program know that it's always based on Answers News. And my work trip is aligning close enough that I'm going to drive a little bit and try to catch Answers News live on Monday. But if I get a chance to ask Ken and Georgia and Bodhi a question, or if I get a chance to meet them, I'm actually not sure what to ask them yet. I kind of want to know if they think Ham and Egg News is a thing. But if anyone has requests for me, something they'd like me to do while I'm at the Creation Museum, or film, or what I should ask Ken, I'd love feedback for that as well.
And point on again, the Creation Museum that you're going to is where?
It's in Kentucky. It's in Kentucky. whatever crappy town.
So it's where they actually film the Answers in Genesis.
Right. So that's where
show,
Answers Genesis head office is. So they've got the Ark Encounters become in a way more famous. But before that, they had the Creation Museum, which if you've seen pictures of it online, it's got, animated Adam and Eve, petting dinosaurs, and they have different exhibits. Anyway, they have Legacy Hall is there, which is where Ken Ham debated Bill Nye. So this is the same stage where the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate.
Ah, gotcha. Now, they don't have your face posted.
I don't know. We'll see on security, but
I would love that. You know what? I think we should actually, when you go there, here's my recommendation: do this. When you go there, get a picture of yourself, put it in the big old red X, and just tape it up there, and just take a picture of it anyways. Seriously, I mean, literally, you could use it in some video.
That's true
for comedic purposes, but do that honestly.
Banned from when I worked at Skywalker Ranch, we actually had that in the booth. There was like pictures of banned from the ranch people.
Banned from the ranch.
They must have. They must have an equivalent there at the Creation Museum. But fortunately, I won't look like a cartoon, so they won't necessarily know who I am.
No, I know what you actually look like. So yeah, I mean, if I do, I'm sure they do.
It's close enough. It's close enough that they should be able to recognize me in the audience.
Recommendation. Yeah, it's pretty close to what your real life thing is. So on the outside chat, by the way, I put the link to get into this hangout in the Great Debate community. Again, we only have about 15-20 more minutes. Maybe if we go over a little bit, not too bad. But while we're doing that, let me put some shouts out. Go ahead, please thumb up with this video. We only got 25 thumbs up. This should have like 10,000 thumbs up because I mean this is great stuff. Not just because it's on my channel, but we got Paul. Tonight, I'm going to put a shout out to the Geek Room. They're having their show at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be a guest on there, and we actually will be talking a little bit about Nephilim Free, and I think maybe Eric Hovind. I know G-Man and some other stuff. And the other shout out I want to give to Zoe Does Life, if you know who she is. She'll be trying to join us sometime in September, and she just had a brilliant freaking video out. PZ may not like it, but but it's a brilliant video on anti-social justice, and it's just hilarious on her channel, and it needs to go viral because it is one of the funniest things I've seen for a very long time. And I told her I would definitely promote it, and I'll put the link to the Great Debate Community, or somebody, if you get a chance, find the video she put out today. It's about a social justice app that you can use to find dating. She did a brilliant job on it, and she's going to come on to talk about that video and other things in September. And also Rachel Oates will be joining us on Wednesday. If you can remember who she is, I think Zoe's a twin sister, although they're not really related, but I honestly can't tell them apart that much anymore. So if you know a way to keep them separated, let me know. Paul, how do you tell them apart, Paul?
I think Rachel is slightly smarter.
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell Zoe you said that. She likes your channel too.
No,
wow.
I meant slightly. They're both, I didn't say either was dumb. I just, Rachel is.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
they are a lot alike.
They're very similar, and they're both well worth subscribing to. They're both. I mean, Rachel is a brand new voice, so a lot of you may not have heard of her. But ignore the cuteness. They're both smart.
Yeah, they're both adorable. I mean, yeah, they're both extremely adorable. But we're gonna be promoting their channels here coming up here, alongside some other ones. And also, as you may know by now, Aaron Raw will be joining us on Friday. He'll be on the Great Debate Community page, having a kind of a debate with General Han Solo. That is, I don't know what time that is actually. I think it's 9 o'clock Eastern.
General's here. What time is it, General?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock. Okay. And then on Saturday, Arn will be back with us on my channel here with somebody named the Atheist Edge. And we're going to have more of a free form type discussion with General and some other people. So if you want to be in on that, let me know. Obviously it has to be kind of moderated, but I'll try to get some of you in that want to meet Aaron. He's really easy to get along with and stuff. So anyways, we got RJ, we got General, and we've got David who joined us in here. So what do you guys want to add to this particular topic?
It's pronounced.
To ask at the Arc Park. Kinds. How many kinds do they have on the Ark? Their Ark, right there. Do they have a list of how many kinds are on the Ark?
I don't think he's going to the Ark. He's going to the studios. He's not going to the Ark. The Ark encounters the Ark encounter, correct me if I'm wrong, is somewhere else.
Well, Creation Museum would be the same thing. I mean, it's the same question.
Yeah,
it would apply.
I know they have a sign at the Ark Encounter has a sign. I have a photo of it. It's 3,500 kinds is what they say, right? So that's the answer that the tour guide will give me. Do they have a list? No, they don't.
Okay,
ooh, so that's way below what the other creationists.
So 3,500 kinds somehow speciated into at least 8.7 million extant eukaryotic species. Is that,
right. That's right, Steve? How do you debate that?
You know what? Yeah, they convinced me, man. I am a convert. I'm down with that. Sure.
One finch kind supposedly proliferated into 1,200 finch species since the Ark. That's Leitner's number.
That's low too. I don't think I've heard much higher numbers than that. 3,500 seems awfully low. But again, how do you put 3,500s of anything on that size ship? It'd be 3,500 animals.
Oh, no, it's more than that. Technically, there's barely enough room. Actually, I was just doing the math on it, and there's enough stall space, provided you have babies and they go into stupors. And
provided you never bother to feed them.
You can put about 8,000. You have 8,000 booths easily available in the Ark if you design it carefully. And are very good about picking up the ship.
I will grant that it's physically possible, but not logistically possible. And especially if you won't ever get the speciation from that.
It's 3,500 kinds, and then you also have 7 of each kind of clean animal, which of course, it was funny because when I was doing my kangaroo video, I was actually researching the baraminology on it, and they consider like kangaroo they just figured must be a clean animal as well, right? So there's 7 of a lot of those kinds.
People think we're kidding on the
dinosaurs would be unclean.
Paul, people think we're kidding when we're talking about the koalablistic theory. They're like, you guys are just making that up.
No, that was literally, it was on the creation wiki. I mean, and it was well referenced. I could go dig up what the reference was, but yeah, they think
it's a real thing. The volcanoes blew up, and the koala bears went into the stratosphere, and then came back down and landed in Australia. Must be. I mean, are they claiming divine intervention? Like angels guide them down or something? Because
No, they didn't. And
Just invoke that easily. It's always the get out of responsibility free card. It's because God is omnipotent. It can do anything.
in fairness, they
You know,
just said
I
it got
wish
them closer.
I wish the Ark and Kana would follow the Noah movie film, because believe it or not, the Noah movie film is actually quite accurate, like from the scriptural context.
I didn't see that one.
They have
It was a
the
surprise. I
rocky
was
aliens.
not expecting it to like it as much as I did. It was a quirky
What's
movie.
it
The
called?
one with oh gosh, what's
Well,
his name? I can't think of his name.
It has the rocky aliens. I mean, not aliens. Rocky angels help build the Ark, and that's in the Gnostic scriptures. So
Yeah,
I wish
the other thing about that movie,
they would follow that.
other than Jennifer Connelly being in it, and Jennifer Connelly should be in every movie ever.
Oh yeah, I'm going with that.
Is that they actually put the animals to sleep, which was the other thing that made total sense to me, much more than Ken's. Ken has a really weird pulley system for like getting the waste on and off and for feeding people. It makes total sense that like why wouldn't you hibernate these animals for a year like that?
Yeah, well, that's how
don't-
Dwayne Gish did for the dinosaurs.
some animals
He
don't
thought the
hibernate.
sauropods would be little babies, and they would immediately go into a stupor, like his own brain,
but
and
not
that
all,
was going to cover
They
it.
wouldn't even need that. Just bring the eggs for all the birds and dinosaurs and reptiles. They could just have eggs.
but not all animals hibernate, for one, and for two. I mean, you would still have to probably at some point say God made them all asleep for it to be.
Yeah, you got to think biblically. You know, just because they can't do that now doesn't mean that God, omnipotent Father, can't pull that trick off.
Right, David, we can't hear you. We don't mean to be walking over you, but your mic is kind of off.
They
David,
can always play the magic card. Yep.
I was just going to say it's just a mass divine anesthetization of everybody
Another
on the
one
boat.
question that would be relevant if they try to play that Cambrian phyla card. It's trickier to do with if you're a young Earth creationist, but they do it. If they decide to bring that up, you would want to ask them, do they think that anything alive today is physically descended from anything in that Cambrian slot of the flood?
True.
Well, this movie, though, Paul, I mean, this movie is not really seeking to show like how they logistically did this, is it? Or how speciations occurred to get to what we have now that's extant from the Ark. I mean, it's not really meant to do any of that, is it? Just meant to show the fall and...
If anyone has seen the trailers online, unfortunately, they're super litigious already about the trailers. I get flagged every time I try and use a clip. Is that these things basically spring out of the ground? Like, so elephants spring out of the ground, just dinosaurs spring out of the ground, trees come out of the ground. So their imagining of how this should go is very fantastical, very magical, because it all has to happen in 24 hours. So no, I'm curious. The only biologist they have on the panel is Georgia Purdom, and I think you guys get a good sense of how seriously I take Georgia Purdom. So
yeah,
I'm guessing it's going to be cosmology. I guess technically Ken has a degree in biology, so he counts. But
No, Ken has he doesn't even have a degree. I mean, it's apparently it's a bachelor of it's a science that is it's like a diploma equivalent, really. And in fact, that's what Purdue agreed in mentioning.
Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't care if all of them have 6 PhDs that they've actually earned. I don't care. I go by what they actually say.
Right.
And
in terms of
I really don't care about I've never really cared about their education. I don't make a big deal of it, except when they do. For example, like when Kent Hovind says he has a PhD, I make a big deal about it because it's like, dude, you don't have a PhD. I will never refer to you as a doctor. You have never earned that title. I will not give it to you.
But they don't have a proper, like, they don't have a baraminologist. They don't have any other biologist. So I just can't imagine, given the lineup they've got, that they're going to try to explain Cambrian explosion or even much more beyond kinds. The film itself won't. It'll be cosmology with Danny Faulkner.
But again, they're tailoring this to people who already believe this stuff. They don't need to have explanations for these people.
No.
They believe it regardless. And by the way, Shannon, I think, was a fan of yours, Paul. She came
Yeah,
in,
no, I
she dropped out.
recognized her. I recognized her face, and then she left.
Yeah, she was a fan of yours, and she just dropped back out. So Shannon, come back in. Bathe in the glory that is Paul that we do. Watch one day he becomes a cult leader and he starts buying his own bullshit.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm deified from God. I'm my own naturalistic.
One thing
God.
you can do, Paul, is act as an observer of the scenes you see there. In other words, getting vibes about what a sort of attendance, what the kind of demographics, how many of them are young people, how many they're older, how many are ones that are bringing their families. That kind of external structure could reveal clues about where creationism is going or not, how successful they are, what kind of demographics they're fiddling with. Shannon is back.
Yeah, she's back. Make sure. Shannon, welcome.
I'm here.
So you wanted to gush? You wanted to gush over Paulogia is that what it was?
Yeah, I love him. But I have no idea what I'm doing. I think I'm on video, but I'm trying to not be.
There's a tree.
We have a wonderful tree here.
Look at the trees.
It's a great tree.
That's the argument for.
I don't want to be on video.
It was used in the eclipse as a observational instrument.
I can't turn off your video, so I have no control over that. But we saw a nice tree, so naturalistic theology exists, ergo God. So
Shannon, you've seen my ham and egg news. So Shannon, if I get a chance, if there's a Q&A after, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. What should I ask Ken and Georgia and Bodie? Given that none of them know anything about the questions that RJ wants me to ask, they don't know anything. Should I ask?
I can only
for
imagine.
example, should I ask them if they've heard of my channel? Like, that's one consideration. I would love to get them on record as to whether they've seen my work.
You should.
You should ask them if they've heard of your channel for sure. But I want to ask you what they think about. I want you to ask them what they think about how the impression that they're placing on people through social media, what effect that it has, because a lot of it I think is damaging. I used to be a theist, and I'm not anymore. And coming out of it was really damaging because there's not any support, and you're essentially just kind of cut off. So, what help would they provide to those types of people? Do they feel like they should just be left out? Do they feel like they should just be cut off? Do they feel like they should still be supported? That's the type of questions that I would want you to ask.
When you say you're a theist, were you a young Earth creationist theist or just a theist?
No, I was raised in a Christian household. I was actually an altar girl in an Anglican church, so I was an Anglican.
Are you gonna sing for us?
Nope. No, I wasn't in the choir. I was an altar girl. No, definitely, I'm not going to sing for you. But when you leave, a lot of your family is just kind of cut off from you or looks down upon you. And when you become an atheist, people kind of look at you as though you have less moral standing and thus don't have as much respect for you, even though you haven't changed as a person. And I find that's probably the hardest part of it. Coming out as an atheist was actually a big deal for me, a really big deal for me, because coming out as an atheist essentially meant that I was going to be looked down upon. I was going to be looked at as though I was less than. I had lower standard of moral integrity, even though I don't. Nothing about me changed. The only thing that changed was that I didn't believe in that anymore. Everything about my personality remained the same. So seeing their messages, their really strong messages about what being a theist means as opposed to what being a non-theist means is really troublesome to me.
Shannon, do you ever get the thing that drives me most crazy now that I'm a couple years out, although you and I have very similar stories, obviously, do you get the you were never a Christian, and does that bother you?
No, I find that people avoid the conversation almost entirely. Like, if I bring it up, it's essentially like, oh, there she's at it again. Or more so, okay, you're trying to corrupt the kids. So I can't really bring it up around, I've got nieces and nephews. My son, I raise him to essentially to be a critical thinker, and I'll respect whatever choice he makes. If he chooses to be a theist, I'll respect that and I'll support him. But I'm raising him to be a critical thinker. I have a 6-year-old. And I don't encourage him to not pursue that, but I don't force anything upon him. I let him choose his own way. So when I'm discussing things with people, or when people bring things up around me that revolve around theology or revolve around the morality that pertains to theology and their opinions, I feel either I'm perceived as being overbearing, or I'm perceived as being overly critical, or I just won't say anything at all, because I feel like adding to the conversation ends up in an argument instead of a discussion.
Paul, you've had some experience with that, haven't you? When you kind of lost your faith, right?
Well, yeah, when I
Back
lost
to the trees.
when I lost my faith, I mean,
Back to the tree.
yeah,
Yeah, back to the trees.
Nice.
I mean,
Lovely Nova
obviously,
Scotia.
you're roboting the Shan. But no, yeah, obviously, I think those of you who follow my channel know that I lost my marriage because of it. I lost business associates because of it. I lost virtually everyone in my life. Almost everyone I knew was a theist, and most of them turned their back on me. And then I got sick, and none of them came to visit me. It was all this weird, being an atheist is, they would much rather that I had become a drug addict, because a drug addict they could come and save me from. When I didn't believe what they believed anymore, I was basically ostracized, and so I definitely can relate to all that.
And some of them, they actually, thought, say this was your punishment, because you have talked about, your sickness before, and how you're doing a lot better, and you're doing great, actually, from my understanding, right?
Right. Yeah. No. So I mean, so just not. I don't like to make a big deal of it, but I had cancer, and so I went through chemo and radiation, all that kind of stuff. But I got my diagnosis just several months after I was outed as an atheist, and literally people would I kind of got the "that's what you deserve."
Yeah, which is totally disgusting. But are they now going, well, wait a minute, you God cured you of this now, even though you're an atheist? I mean, how do they rationalize that?
Well, just much like Shannon's story, either they won't talk to me, either talk to me about anything, or they've, or they avoid the topic, and we got. They get the idea that it's because my mom is praying. That's the or sometimes you get the, well, God's not done with you yet. There's a couple of them that are still hanging on that I might come back. Maybe Eric can bring me back with his movie, but
you know what I'm telling you, if Eric was smart, because Eric is a businessman, so this is kind of surprising to me. If he was really smart, he should say, you know what, yeah, Paul, you know what, not only will I give you tickets, I'm going to fly you down here on my dime.
Yeah,
He should
I agree
promote
with
the hell out of
it.
it.
If Eric's movie is substantial, then definitely he shouldn't be even asking for any money. He should just give it for free.
Yeah, I mean, I have to look at some of these people going, God, do they not know some basic marketing techniques? You always turn a negative into a positive, right? You always try to, and I think he could promote the freaking hell out of this by saying,
Yeah,
look,
he basically made it for free, right? I mean,
well, yeah, it cost him a dime, but think about the advertising he would have. Look, I'm having YouTubers that are all against my channel, and I'm all for bringing them on and showing them, and showing the unbeliever and showing the atheist. I mean, God, he could market the crap out of that.
I mean, even if he showed it to me at the premiere 2 weeks earlier, and I came out with videos saying I hated it, that would also play into his narrative. Yeah,
well, it's a win-win for him. It definitely is, because he could say, oh, look, I extended him all this, and he just ripped on me, which, that's what the atheists do. But I gave him all the considerations, and I paid for his ticket. Or even better, you say, you know what? Yeah, the movie sucked, but you know what? I got to give Eric props. He was very congenial. He paid for this, and he set it up, and it would still put him in a good light. It would make him look good, right? They don't know how to turn these things to their advantage. And I'm not giving him any ideas, by the way.
Maybe you'll tack this conversation onto the back of the movie.
Well, like I said, I tweeted to him. I mean, Eric usually gets back to me, but I think he is avoiding Paulogia. That's just the way from what I've seen the correspondence, because we've had quite a few correspondences. I don't think he's too interested in your diagnosis of his movie, your opinion of the movie.
No, I mean, those of you who don't know the history, he and I were actually quite chatty. So even I showed him my last video, he actually was acknowledging me in his videos and things. He's acknowledged me before, but when he sent me his Risen Without a Doubt series, which is Jesus Resurrection series, and then I was pretty hard on that. After that, when he kind of stopped talking to me. So he did extend. In fairness, that was a $90 DVD set that I was ripping on him for charging so much for. And he sent it to me for free. Like, so he's not completely, this isn't out of the realm for him. Like, he sent that to me completely for free as his word. So I'm not, in any way trying to say that.
Well, what it cost him to do that?
Well, I mean, no, it cost him a few bucks, but he did it. Like, it's,
No, that's smart. No, that's smart. Well, yeah, for the same token, like, Dr. Rana, he sent me, his
and me. He
books,
sent
right?
both of us that book.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? You're right. He actually sent not just me. He sent Paulogia the same book, Dinosaur Blood and the Age of the Earth. And how many times have I mentioned that though? He's gotten traction out of that.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah, and there are other younger creationists who have sent me material and that's how I know they believe in it, right? So Brian Stevens.
So what we're saying is send us stuff.
Well, I actually give Ray Comfort a slight degree of gearedness. Like his latest movie on suicide, for example, he put it on YouTube. Like, and I'm like, okay, so he's not selling the DVDs. He believes in it enough that he's just putting it out there for free. Like, I think it's in poor taste, but at least, like, if your real goal is to evangelize, like like Eric says he is with this movie, you could put it out for free. Like, there's no reason you need to charge people.
I kind of see that. Yeah, I definitely kind of see that.
Yeah, take donations, if anything. If it's the truth and people believe it, they should donate,
Yeah, we're all, when you're a theist, you're used to the offering plate coming by.
I'm just wondering though.
Go ahead, Jim.
I mean, I was an atheist until 21, but I had a family that were Anglican as well, and some were Catholic. But I didn't get any form of shunning throughout my life. They were very supportive in everything I was doing. It
Paul
was
may have
literally
been
just
in an area that was a lot more communal, though, a lot more tied to the community that we live in.
I mean, I'm Mennonite. I'm still technically because it's not.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he's Mennonite.
So if you're just basically a step above the Amish that they have in the Witness movie, your whole community is built around.
Very, 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 built into that.
Wow. Okay.
So now you understand more that when Paul left, it was considered to be complete heresy, right? He was basically a shunned outcast at that point.
Yeah, and that completely breaks my heart.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll put another shout out to Holy Kool-Aid, Thomas. He has a video out on how to cope with some of the stuff if you are someone who are leaving the faith and becoming atheist. And he has some very good videos, very good video. So if you're looking for something like that, he's actually put together a video for that, and he's putting together a support network of regional things, of places to go and people to talk to for support for that. Now, again, I want to reiterate, my channel has never been and never will be dedicated to atheist versus theist or anything like that. It is rational versus irrational. If somebody converts to Christianity, I'm just okay as if they convert to atheism, as long as they get their science right. That's my only interest that I have a concern about.
And I think
I don't care. But
I think General appreciates that about my channel, is that really I am, with the exception of a couple of videos, most of my channel is just about young Earth creationism. I am like, my kids are young Earth creationists, and I would like them to be theistic evolutionists. I am not trying to deconvert them.
If they got that far, you'd be okay.
Yeah, that I would stop. Like, and so my channel is very friendly for that.
Yeah, I mean, if
all channels are different. Go ahead, General.
Even if you remember some of my earliest videos on my channel before I started posting, those 10-hour videos, it was basically dedicated to refuting the young Earth paradigm, and so
mine too. My first videos, that's all it was anti. Younger creationism that I did. In fact, Scott here was, I think my very first hangout that I had.
Yeah, you and Isaac, I think. Yeah,
Isaiah.
Yeah.
So I mean, Scott goes way back with me here, and he remembers we would have just hangouts dedicated to debunking Earth creationists, and they would come in and we would talk about it. That's back in the day when Nephilim Free actually could figure out how to get a hangout because he has no idea what he's doing.
Christian Hillbilly and
Christian Hillbilly.
Who else? Jungle Jargon, yeah.
But just one last plug before we get too off topic.
Absolutely.
I would very much. I'm excited Shannon was on here because I know she's been commenting on my videos, and my favorite stuff, if anyone, Shannon or anyone, is in a situation similar to where I was or where I am, you reach out to me on Twitter or Facebook, because that's the reason I have my channel. I don't really care about views. I don't care about all that other stuff. What I really care about is having a support that I didn't have. I think you probably got a sense from my story that I had no support. So I'm happy to talk to anyone about all any of this stuff.
And his link to his videos are in the video description. If you have not subscribed to him, what's wrong with you? By all means, go take the time right now to go do it. Subscribe to his channel and take advantage of that, because like I said, there are a lot of people that I think have had that happen to. And if Paul and other people in the community are willing to help you guys, get out of young earth creations, whether it be leading you to atheism
I will
or
not,
theistic evolution.
and I won't even try and convert you. It's just I understand what it's like to have those doubts and to try and figure that stuff out.
I could tell you right now, the names of a lot of the names of people that I've gotten out or helped gotten out of young earth creationism. I can't think of one that has lost their faith. Right, they've become theistic evolutionists.
Right.
I never tried to sway them from their faith, because I can tell you right now, and this is from my own personal experience, and you can agree or disagree, but if you're trying to get them out of younger creationism, the worst way to go about it is through the faith route and attacking their faith. Now you can challenge them, right? You can take the Bible and you can show them things like the way General does. That's fine. But if you're attacking their faith and not showing them a science, I don't think that you're really going to have much luck. But that's my personal experience. If you show them the science and they go like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, this is not adding up here. You're right. Yeah, Ken Hovind, the claims he makes just aren't right. And let them come to their own conclusions about it, right? And if they happen to lose their faith, it is what it is. But they want to become a theistic evolutionist, whatever. But the goal for my channel is just to get the correct information out there. So I want to make that very clear, because I have recently, somebody had actually claimed that I make videos that are anti-Christian, that go against, that try to attack Christianity. And I can tell you right now, that has never happened. And every Christian that is in the Great Debate community can testify to that, because they've been with me for a very long time.
Yeah, if Steve is anti-Christian, then why is he exceedingly supportive of myself, of all people, including Fiona, Jade?
Well, you're just a beautiful man, that's why.
Well, and that hangout. Okay. You guys had that hangout on the GDC the other day. There was literally it was like 10 theists, and you guys were all talking. Like it was even over my head, and I'd memorized the stupid Bible.
In fact, sometimes Steve actually just sits in for 3 hours straight the other day, just listening to Christians hash.
I was tuned out. No. I mean, it was above my head. I tried to understand, but yeah, I mean, the Great Debate community page is open to anybody that can run it that I trust, right? If you want to be a manager of that channel, it doesn't matter whether you're a theist or an atheist, as long as you moderate fairly and you have civil discussions. And I thought that was fine the other day. There was a great discussion. I didn't really know much about the topic, though. I couldn't have added anything to it. But yeah, to say that my channel or the Great Debate community is like anti-Christian is just completely absurd. So,
welcome, Eat, and who else joined? I forget who.
My brother Eat, who actually got to call in and talk to Potholer like myself the other day. That he's my Potholer brother.
Okay. I was so excited about that. I was literally texting everybody.
Forever.
Yeah. And then everybody's immediate response was, "Who is Potholder?"
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know. I had somebody on Facebook ask me that. I'm like, oh, just defriend me now.
Potholer ruined my entire night. It was 5 hours.
I know. 5 hours.
That was awesome.
That was ridiculous, but that was great.
I had somebody ask me who Stephen Crowder was. That was my favorite part of the night. I was like,
I'm not a fan of him. I would recognize him, but
you should know who he is. Don't try. Don't look it up.
Sure. Oh, sure, I know who he is, but just not a big fan of,
No.
Well, Carrie, you just dropped in, so you want to add something real quick? I'm going to be ending this soon. Like I said, I kind of want to keep this short, so maybe we'll keep it going for like 15 minutes, make it a nice 90-minute thing. But do you want to ask anything to Paul and MK? You're in here too, not the MK that everybody knows, but a different MK. Go ahead, Carrie. Or are you being quiet on the issue? I think we scared Carrie.
Oh, he's AFK probably.
Okay. Oh, no, he's turning on the mic.
Hello?
There we go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not like you to be quiet.
Coming out.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, Carrie's quiet for a change?
No. I was just going to fanboy a little bit and say hi to Paul. And I like your videos very much and just wanted to say hi.
Cool. Thank you.
Paul's got fanboys now. That's so cute.
It's so cute. So
I remember when you had 100. The first time we had you on, and I first noticed you. You had like 100 subs, right?
I believe you were subscriber 88 to my channel.
Yeah, and I was like, this guy's gonna rock. I got to promote the shit out of this guy. And I'm so glad that I did. Not that he needed my help. I'm not implying that at all. But I'm glad that I actually was one of the few first few subscribers to him, because I just loved him from the beginning. So,
although, dude, to be fair, this, I wasn't aware of the GDC, and the GDC helps me literally every science video I do has been fact checked by someone in the GDC, because I am, as a recent young Earth creationist, I don't know the science. I don't pretend to know the science. I would be a fool to go with only my own knowledge, and that's what I love about this community, is that they let me ask my dumb questions, and they don't tell me that I'm dumb. They just help me find the right answers.
Smart people, don't we?
We really do.
I mean, people need. I'm surprised more people don't take advantage of it. We have so many people with. It's not just people with the PhDs. We got a lot of PhDs, a lot of masters, a lot of degrees. It doesn't matter. We have people that have no formal education, are just as smart as some of the PhDs people. So on certain issues. So I mean, it's just take advantage of it. If you got a topic you want to talk about, go on the Great Debate community and talk about it. Like I just finished a presentation that I've just been working on introduction to limits and continuous functions. I'm going to be doing that maybe even tonight before the Geek Room. I don't know. But I've been going on to the Great Debate community and doing math stuff, right? Did one on the Taylor series and order of operations. Whatever you think you're good at or you like, you don't need to be good at it, just like and be able to explain it. Let me know. We'll dedicate time on the Great Debate community channel for you.
And let me shout out that I also would need to shout out RJ. Like I fact checked. RJ has such an advanced. His tip resource is so exhaustive. Literally every video I do is cross-checked against RJ's material as well. I mean, so it's just so much great material out there if you want to read through this research.
Yeah, RJ's got a huge database. Maybe too gargantuan, and it's hard to parse through. I've actually looked at it, and the citations are a little overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But that's not a bad thing. It's a lot to get through.
So the other weird thing, if we're going to hang on for a couple of minutes, the other weird thing that you'll be hearing me talk about a bit is that my father last night stopped by unexpectedly, and he's from a whole different province. And he found my YouTube channel. So he and I had to have a very weird discussion last night that he had, the theist who helped indoctrinate me found my channel. So, but it was funny because all his first questions were about like, why are you a cartoon? And what's all the, how do you do the mouth? And he wanted me to show him all the technical aspects.
I'm not going to give away my trade secrets.
Well, I could tell him because I knew he wouldn't understand because he has a hard time enough with the fact that he found YouTube it was surprising enough to me, but no, it's a little bit surreal. So you'll probably be seeing me talk about that and blogging about it. So it's the next chapter in my family saga now that they're learning.
And he's gone with you to the Creation Museum, right?
No, sorry, I think I maybe mistyped there. So I actually didn't admit to him that where I was going next week. So that'll be a surprise to him that he will learn in one of my videos, I guess. I mean, my family very much, they are not happy that I'm, on the opposite team now. As Aaron Raw, he and I had a great chat before the video that the audio went to hell for. He was very encouraging that everyone he knows that are the real pit bulls, are the former theists. So we kind of know the language, and it's tough when someone who's on your team goes to the competition.
Have they like looked at your videos and said, okay, let me try to understand what you're saying here, Paul. Let me try to see how you're saying that we're wrong because of this. Have they ever engaged with you on any of that?
So my dad let me know that he was investigating and he was doing some reading. He was reading some books, and he wanted to put a pin in that. He didn't want to talk about that right away. What he really wanted, he does not like that I call myself an atheist. It's funny. This is the same objection when I was outed. He doesn't like the label that I'm using, and that I think that's particularly harsh in the community that we come from, for them to say that Paul, who used to lead worship here, is now an atheist. It's not that I don't believe that I actually actively use that label. It seems to bother him more, and I think that's a generational thing, but it also, to me, is partly, even though I would probably call myself a Matt Dillahunty agnostic atheist, I use those weird things. Steve and I don't agree on this at all.
It's not that we don't agree. It's just we have a differing opinion.
But I feel like I have to wear atheist to normalize it, because the community I came from, their eyes would roll over any of these G-Man debates or whatever over the word. They just know that, like, to their mind, it's synonymous with Satan, and like literally
it really is, though, isn't it?
They would call it very much like
Yeah.
it's just it's the absolute worst thing you can be. They would have a weird definition. They would probably call Muslims atheists, and they would, like, anything to them, anything that isn't Christian is.
So somehow the belief that God does not exist, and I'll use the philosophical atheist, but the belief that God does not exist somehow translates to I am a devil worshipping, Satan loving, baby eating, no morals, person. That seems to what it is to translate to some hardcore evangelistic theist, correct?
If you're in a red state, yes.
I can't wait to hear that taken out of context and used in a G-Man video against you.
Yeah, you know what? Nothing surprises me anymore. Well, we'll have another hangout on that, because if you guys watch the one today, G-Man literally has said, and I'm not making this up, but I want to make a video on this so bad, but I need some help that people can help me with, like Photoshop or GIMP. I'm not good at it. If anybody wants to do a hangout on that, please let me know, because I need some practice. I don't understand it yet. So, but anyways, he said that he is a henotheist, which is a type of polytheist, which means he's no longer a monotheistic Christian if you follow his line of reasoning.
Although, General, would you say that the early...
But G-Man said that?
Yes. Not out of context, not exaggerating. His own words, he is a henotheist.
Because
that's by his own definition, though.
Because I claim to be a monolatrist, or in this case a henotheist, but I still fit in the monotheist category. But when I said that to G-Man, he came down on me so hard, like, and now he's saying he's a henotheist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're taking it as you're using the approach that you're a what is a monolateral? What's it called?
Yeah, it's called a monolatrist. So
monolatrist. That's right. Right.
Yeah, latry means worship. So mono means singular worship.
Yeah. That's actually very much where his video as a former theist. That's right. That's where he was going. Like, he was talking. He was alluding to, like,
he was trying to talk about monolatrism. Yeah, and I vaguely remember the word. I understood that, but that's not the way he was presenting it at all.
No, correct. He's completely misrepresenting it. But you could get the two people ago that he talked to were probably saying those words, and he's
claiming to be a polytheist then.
No, but the way he's formulating his argument, to me, lends to polytheism, right? Like, to me, for example, I'll tell you right now, henotheism to me is a form of polytheism. However, I can see by using the monolatry approach, I'll make, for somebody like yourself, or somebody who actually understands the differences, I'll make concessions, right?
Right.
But G-Man doesn't understand his own argument, because he's so fixated on that I am, to him, a non-existent atheist, polytheistic, whatever. I mean, it changes day by day, right? So it's all about him trying to pigeonhole me in a position that I don't take, because he's asserted numerous times that I believe that God exists. I believe that if you believe God exists, you can no longer be. Wait. No, he says, I believe that if you assert God exists, you can still be an atheist, which is something that obviously I've never said.
Well,
That's
coming from a guy that every video, without fail, when he introduces his channel, he always has the word in it. Welcome to another preaching to the choir ministries.
Which is another which is an idiom he doesn't know about, which is another thing he just completely clueless on.
Yeah,
But anyways, we've sidetracked completely to G-Man off. But, sorry guys.
I should probably get back to work, because this is my designated time, but maybe
I know.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. So Paul, I
appreciate it, Paul.
Keep up the great stuff. We're going to be promoting your channel for quite some time. You are one of my favorite members of the DDC, so I'm so glad that you're on board with us.
By the way,
yeah,
it's pronounced Paulogia.
Yes, but as As I said, I took Bible school in the Midwest. So
yeah. So you missed it earlier. I asked him how he likes to have it pronounced.
that's what he probably saw.
Paulogia, but if you pronounce it Paulogia or Paulogia, he's not going to say you're an idiot, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So whatever.
Well,
I like Paulogia. Paulogia. Oh, that's good. I like the Paulogia. Ooh, so if
I gotta say one thing. I gotta say one thing to Paul. I love your ham and egg series, but I have to mute the song because it gets stuck in my head.
It's like an earworm, isn't it?
I actually second that because I was making eggs the other day and I had it playing on my iPod. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, but I just want to reiterate, if somebody like, Zoe or Rachel, some really cute chick said, Paulogia, you wouldn't care, right?
No, I will answer to that.
You're a smart man. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this. This was a great live chat. You guys were awesome in there. Thanks, Paul, for coming in.
Cool.
Again, if you feel like doing a Patreon to my channel, every little bit helps. I am trying to build something here. We want to promote a lot of channels. I got the Great Debate Community webpage out there. We got the Great Debate Community Wiki, which we're making a newer one on the servers. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of big stuff. So please, if you feel like contributing, that's awesome. And also contribute to Paul's, where he has a Patreon now as well. Kick in a couple bucks for him as well. I think it's going to a good cause. These people are putting out content. So anyways, with that, I'm going to bid you guys adieu, and I will see you on the Geek Room later on tonight. And I may have that math hanging on the other channel in an hour or so. Maybe. We'll see. Okay? So with that, thanks, guys. Thank you, Paul, for everything. You're awesome.